Thank you so much for joining me. Now, we begin this hour with updates in the Murdaugh murder mystery saga out of South Carolina. Now, if you don't know about this case and you love true crime, sit back and relax because this one is a doozy. Now, over the weekend, prominent lawyer Alec Murdaugh called 911 to report that he had been shot on a rural road near Vaughnville, South Carolina in Hampton County. Alec Murdaugh was airlifted to Memorial Health University Medical Center in Savannah, Georgia, for treatment of a superficial gunshot wound to the head. Now, Murdaugh's lawyer told local news outlets that his client was driving to Charleston when he stopped because of car trouble. Now, while the car was stopped, someone in another vehicle shot him. Now, this latest incident comes just 3 months after Alec found his wife Maggie and son Paul shot to death on their family property on June 7th. Law enforcement officials in South Carolina released the 911 call Alec made after finding the bodies of his family members. Let's listen to some of that call right now.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
This is Alec Murdaugh. Road. I need the police to answer immediately. My wife and child shot badly.
Okay, you said Road in Arlington?
Sir?
You said Moselle Road in Arlington?
Yes, sir. Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
My wife and my son.
Are they in a vehicle?
No, ma'am. They're on the ground out at my kennels.
Okay, and did you see anyone? Okay, is he breathing at all?
No, nobody.
Is she? Okay, do you see anything? Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
What color is your house on the outside? What color is your house on the outside?
It's white. You can't see it from the road.
Okay, is it a house or a mobile home?
It's a house.
Okay, and what is your name?
My name is Alec Murdaugh.
Okay, and did you hear anything, or did you come home and find them?
No, man, I've been gone. I just came back.
Okay, and was anyone else supposed to be at your house?
No, ma'am.
Now, 22-year-old Paul Murdaugh was awaiting trial for a boating under the influence causing death charge when he was killed in June. Now, the 2019 boating accident killed 19-year-old Mallory Beach. Now, no arrests have been made in the death of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, and state police have released little information on the case. All right, let's bring in tonight's guest. Joining me in Los Angeles, California, retired special agent and producer of the newly released Audible original series After the Fall, which gives a deep dive into the investigation of the 9/11 attacks. Bobby Chacon is with us. In Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander and host of the Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King, is with us as well. And in Columbia, South Carolina, a reporter with the Associated Press, Jeffrey Collins, is with us. And I want to thank all three of you for being with me this evening. And Jeffrey, I want to start with you. First, I want to clarify something. His name is spelled Alex Murdaugh. That's how you would normally pronounce it. But my understanding is out there they pronounce it Alec Murdaugh. Which is the correct way?
It's the second way. Alec Murdaugh is how they pronounce it. And there's a lot of the Murdaughs in that area, and that's how they pronounce their name.
All right, fantastic. So we're going to go with that. Now, there were some new developments today, and I want you to update us on that. This thing, again, there's a lot of tentacles. Today, we found out something about Alec Murdaugh, which is interesting, a very interesting development in the case. Tell us about it.
Yes, his law firm decided he resigned from his law firm late last week, but it turned out the day before he resigned that the law firm found out that there had been some misappropriated money from him. So after the shooting and the 911 call and the shooting, and he spent a day in the hospital, he went immediately into rehab after that.
And so he claimed he had some sort of addiction that had gotten worse, right, as a result of the killing of his family?
Right. He said that he had addiction. His lawyer later said it was through a narcotic, and that, it had been going on for a while, but all of these, the death of his wife and his son just made things so much worse and kind of spiraled it out of control.
All right, Bobby Chacon, we've heard this type of thing before. Someone gets in trouble, they've been stealing money, there's murders going on around them. They claim some sort of addiction, they go into treatment. What are your first initial thoughts about this case?
For me, it's, and I will admit it's conjecture, but I would really be looking into the veracity of this claim that somebody shot him in the head. I would be looking at whether or not that's a self-inflicted wound. I would be seriously looking at that, because it looks like, you're right. I mean, oftentimes we do see the rehab being used as a way to escape some kind of closer examination. Obviously, this gentleman had problems. He suffered this incredible loss a couple of months ago with his wife and son, and his son was facing serious felony charges at an upcoming trial. And then I don't know how long the money situation in his law firm. This is a law firm that was started by his great grandfather in this area, and he is a very powerful and influential family for generations. And so it was all coming apart on him. His wife and child were viciously murdered, and now he gets caught and he's let go. Everything was crumbling around him. So I think that the incident that happened on the roadway could have been a result of that.
Jeffrey Collins, let me ask you this real quick about the injuries suffered by Alec Murdaugh. Was there any conjecture at all as to whether this was self-inflicted?
State police aren't saying what exactly they think that happened. They said that he was grazed in the head or had suffered a superficial head wound in the shot. And obviously he was able to call 911 immediately after being shot and was released from the hospital in, a day. So, you have those facts there, but no, state police aren't saying if they think it's self-inflicted, if they think it was actually someone that shot at him, staged, whatever. The state police haven't given any indication what direction they're going.
All right, now I want to read a statement here from the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. They released a statement containing more information into the investigation, and it's about the shooting of Alec Murdaugh. Here's what they wrote. SLED personnel were dispatched at 2:41 p.m. with Low Country regional agents arriving on the scene at 3:40 p.m. and SLED crime scene agents arriving on the scene at 4:30 p.m. SLED regional agents and crime scene agents worked throughout the night into Sunday morning, collecting evidence, processing the crime scene, interviewing potential witnesses, and following up on potential leads. A black Mercedes-Benz SUV driven by Alec Murdaugh was initially processed and ultimately towed from the scene to a law enforcement impound lot for further evaluation. At this time, no arrests have been made. I want to ask you, Mike King, was there anything that jumped out at you about that particular press release? There's someone who's claiming to be shot, and nowhere does it mention that he was victimized, that he was shot. I just wonder if there's something about that jumps out at you.
Yeah, I think that random idea that somebody drives by, flips a U-turn, and comes back and shoots at a person is kind of a tough one to get over. I think we need to really see which side of the head was this graze wound on, which side is his dominant or his gun shooting hand, and there's going to be lots of evidence to support that. Is there physical evidence on him, gunshot residue or other things that might suggest that this was a self-inflicted thing? There is so much behaviorally happening in this particular case, Michael, that really causes you a lot of things to think about. I mean, you go back to the son's involvement with this negligent homicide that he was allegedly responsible for. And then all of a sudden what appears to me to be the primary target in that shooting, the son, the wife, my understanding was probably shot by a long-barreled rifle. And so was she there later discovering her son? Did this occur all at once? What's the physical evidence at the site looking like? But you know what? Everything keeps pointing back to the father and his involvement in the law firm. This idea that there has been money that's been moved around and pushed around, and now this revelation that there might be narcotics involved, it really starts to point to more what was going on in the financial affairs of the family early on, and were there addiction issues.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Collins, I believe a statement was made by Alec Murdaugh suggesting that he had made mistakes or he had done things he regretted.
Yes, it was a vague statement. It certainly didn't go into any details, but he did say that he had caused some, pain and he did have some regrets for some things he had done. And that came out shortly before the law firm statement came out about the missing money. So it was needless to say, yesterday was a very interesting day in this case.
Was there any suspicion about the shootings of his son and his wife that perhaps something he was involved in had brought this about to the family? Is there any speculation of that type going on?
That's another place where the state law enforcement division has been very tight-lipped about any kind of possible motive or any reason, or whether anyone has even been determined to be a suspect or ruled out as a suspect. Obviously there's a lot of we know of just a few facts that they've released, that both of them were shot multiple times. They were found outside their home in Colleton County, and that Alec Murdaugh was the one who found their bodies. He has said, and you hear on the 911 call, he mentions that he was out, and his family later did a TV interview where they said that he was visiting his ailing father and mother. So there seems to be some kind of alibi there. I mean, obviously the state police are checking up on that and haven't said whether it is a true alibi or whether they've even verified if it was there or not. They're saying very little.
Bobby Chacon, where do you even begin on an investigation like this? There's so many tentacles. Again, you have the son who was involved in a tragic accident. You have the mother who, as of right now, there aren't any allegations. You have the father who clearly was involved in some bad acts and just had his own incident that was very similar to the incident suffered by the mother and the son. Where do you even begin on an investigation like this?
Well, I think the beginning of the murder investigation had to look at the boating accident because there was a wrongful death suit filed. There was a lot of people that were claiming that the family may have used its influence to try to get the younger Murdaugh not to be charged and not to say that he wasn't operating that boat. Somebody else might have been operating that boat. But they did ultimately charge him with a criminal act, and a wrongful death suit was filed. So when they went up dead, I think the initial reaction was it might have had something to do with this boating accident. You had a lot of angry people that young woman was killed. However, now in light of the older Murdaugh's problems with money and his law firm and possible addiction issues, now you have to start looking. So I think that as of last week, if the police were tipped off to what was happening at his law firm, I think that investigation into the murders of his wife and son has taken a turn. And now you have to start looking at, have we been looking at the wrong thing? If we were looking at this boating accident, do we now have to look at his law firm activity, the money that he absconded with from his law firm, the clients at his law firm, his addiction issues, and things like that. So I think that I think they started, and I think it may have taken a big turn last week.
Mike King, to even complicate matters even more, the Murdaugh family, apparently a very well-connected family, and had a hand in hand-picking the current DA. There are charges that the DA has been sort of interfering in some of these investigations. I mean, that just complicates things even further. How do you go about uncovering what you need and doing what you need to do when you have these types of connections?
Yeah, I think everything is so public now that we're going to see lawyers recusing themselves and stepping away from this thing. The public's going to be quick to call out any relationships that are going on. So I think this thing is going to remain pretty clean. And while we might want to chase a conspiracy theory here and there, I really do think that the system is going to work adequately. I also think this is just like the perfect example of what we often teach when we look at profiling principles about the idea between the three portions of a person's life. And we're seeing it in true living color now, this private side of his life, a public side, and now a secret side. And as we get each of those pieces more defined, I think we're going to see some real interesting evidence raised to the surface.
Yeah, this is certainly one to watch. Jeffrey Collins, I believe Mike King was right. I believe the DA has recused himself from this case, correct?
Yes, the Murdaugh family has been we call them solicitors in South Carolina, but they're basically district attorneys. And the Murdaugh family, for more than 80 years, they were the solicitors for Hampton County and the 5-county area that's included in that. The current solicitor is Duffy Stone, and he succeeded Alec Murdaugh's father in the position. He said he wasn't going to recuse himself until there was a reason to in June. And then August, he wrote a letter and asked the state attorney general to take over the case because he said there were developments that said he couldn't continue in case there was anyone charged to prosecute it and feel like he was ethically correct to prosecute it. But they didn't give any information about what those developments were on that particular day in August that made him make that decision.
What a tangled web we weave. All right. A big thank you to Jeffrey Collins for joining us tonight. We truly appreciate you coming on with us to break this all down. Bobby Chacon, Mike King, you guys are standing by. It is time now for a quick break. But when we come back, it'll be time to open up our unsolved case file. And tonight, we're taking a look at the 2019 murders of Carnell Sledge and and Catherine Brown. So keep it right here on Court TV.